Welcome into the Roaring Repeater podcast here on 7220sports.com. I'm your host, Cody Tucker, joined as always by Jared Newland. Lots to talk about, Jared. We always talk about this every week, like, we can't watch practice. We don't see a lot of stuff. We just have to go by hearsay and what the coaches and players say. There's actually a lot of stuff going on right now, and we always talk like, what can we come up with for 30 minutes? Then we come up with all kinds of stuff, and the next thing you know, we're on here for an hour.
It always happens that way, and I guess we can BS with the best of them.
Yeah, well, after writing down some notes, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of places we could start. Where I'd like to start, though, and I don't even know if you've seen, we haven't talked about this, if you've seen that this week the movers and shakers from G5 teams are supposed to be or G5 conferences are going to be meeting in Dallas to talk about a potential playoff, an FBS kind of playoff for these group of five teams, but not get out of the potential of playing in the 12-team playoff, just having their own playoff as well, and then the one team that makes it to hopefully makes it to the playoff still has that opportunity.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of solution they come up with, because TV contracts are involved in all this.
Yeah.
That's why it took an extra year to get to the 12-team playoff. And then they're already talking about a 16-team playoff, but they really can't do anything until the next TV contract cycle.
Right.
So who knows if this is even a viable option? I don't know.
So I've talked about it a lot. I actually love the idea. They're already tabbing it like the NIT. I don't like that part. But I've always thought, let's be real. We've gone into every Wyoming season our entire life never going, this is the year they're going to win a national title. We don't even think about that kind of stuff. It's win the Mountain West, hopefully go undefeated and have a special season, end up in an Alliance Bowl or whatever.
Possibly get to that New Year's Day Bowl.
Yeah, that is the ceiling. Now, theoretically, you have that kind of a special season. Next thing you know, you're going to find yourself in the ultimate playoff with the Alabamas and the Georgias and teams like that of the world, which would be great, and the payday would obviously be huge. But your odds are not great, especially on a year-by-year basis. And imagine, I think about Western Michigan was kind of one of those last teams to really break in and have a huge season and end up playing in the Cotton Bowl against Wisconsin. They lost their head coach. They lost a ton of people off their roster, and that's what's going to happen to every G5 team that makes it to the playoff.
Yeah.
And then when are they going to make it back?
Yeah. I guess, be honest with you, Tom Berman would be a great person to talk to about this, because he's been on the TV committee of the Mountain West Conference. He's been on the playoff committee.
Yeah.
So he really knows what's going on that side of things, and to really find out if this is a viable solution or not.
Yeah. I asked Jay Savell about it yesterday, and he took forever to answer, just shaking his head. He wants this carousel to stop. Like in general, like he referenced USC and UCLA playing in the Big Ten and all the stupid new rule changes. And then last week they were on the sideline having to fidget around with these new iPads and stuff. And he's like, really don't like doing that, with 2 weeks to go before a regular season game.
Don't piss off Microsoft.
Yeah.
They're Microsoft Surface tablets, not
not iPad. Okay. But yeah, they, he wants this to stop. He just wants normalcy. And once again, the scholastic model's just trash now. It's absolutely gone. And that's where a guy like Craig Bull being a mover and shaker now, he's going to fight like hell to keep that going. But I love the idea of, and he did mention this too, meaningful football for these teams beyond some boring-ass bowl game that nobody goes to that is in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, and that bowl game is actually a part of a playoff.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Or have them on campus just like the FCS. The FCS model has been a thing of beauty. Yep. And even Jay said, can you imagine having a meaningful game against a team in Laramie in December?
Yeah, and the 12-team playoff, the first round is at a home site. Then it goes to a bowl game. Then it goes to the semifinals, then the finals. So
I like the idea of, as long as this isn't that time when the what do they call them, the autonomous four, hopefully that's not when they break off and say see you later, because that would be the worst possible thing, in my opinion.
You hear some of the so-called grumbling, because I think it is true grumbles from some of the head coaches in the Power Four.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear other ones saying, oh, that's never going to happen. Yeah. So I mean, none of us really know what's going on. Greg Sankey's probably the one guy that knows what's going on because he is the czar of college football as the commissioner of the SEC.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think those. I might be naive, Jared, but I think we've heard Nick Saban say it 100 times. They love playing those games against all the SEC teams play a quote unquote cupcake
in November.
But that payday that Alabama gives a Citadel or a Samford, that pays their entire athletic budget for an entire year. Plus, it gives Alabama a blow before they have a really tough game against Auburn, and then they, are in the SEC championship, then they're playing in the national championship, and soon to be a 12-team playoff. So I genuinely believe the Nick Sabans of the world love that game, and I think they want that game. And think about it. Who wants to play – you're already playing an SEC schedule. Like, for instance, Florida's schedule, if you look at that this year, it is brutal.
November looks like an NFL schedule.
It does. It's ugly. And the Gators are not supposed to be good this year, so this could get real ugly real fast. You don't think they want a Citadel? Yeah, you don't think they want to play the Citadel and get a blow and just have a week and throw a bone to a program that'll come be your sacrificial lamb? And oh, by the way, Wyoming was that cupcake once in Knoxville, Tennessee. Just so happened to beat the Volunteers and take a check and come right back home to Laramie. That's what I don't want to see, the split, because we love those games, right? I mean, you love the opportunity, and Wyoming doesn't win many of them, but we always talk about Ole Miss. We always talk about Tennessee. Those are big, big wins. We talk about Missouri coming here. We talk about Texas Tech coming here. You want that opportunity, and for us fans, we don't give a shit about the payday. I mean, it's nice, but you want to win that game and be on ESPN and be the talk of the town.
Yeah, and then this year having 2 more Big 12 opponents on the schedule, the opportunity to beat a Big 12 team 3 times in a row.
Yeah, no doubt. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. So I never want to lose that, and you don't want to lose your spot at the table in the 12-team playoff. But I love the idea of having a tournament at the end of the year where you're like, hey, we're not done. We're not done yet just because we went to some trash bowl. And the Mountain West bowl ties are hideous. If you don't win the Mountain West, Arizona Bowl's nice. Other than that, Albuquerque, Boise, Air Force is always earmarked for the one in Texas, which sucks because I would love to be in that one day. But I think it would be really exciting to have another national champion.
I think those bowls are going to lose their conference affiliations.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be a pick'em.
Oh, no question.
I think and that's coming in another year or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea. I really do. I've thought about this. I've talked about that idea a billion times before, so I was actually kind of shocked to see that they were maybe going to do something like that. It gives you a chance to play a few more games, win, have some more home crowds. Obviously, games in Laramie in December, we've seen one of those against San Diego State, and I wasn't there for that night, but I have heard nothing but how miserably cold it was.
You dress for the weather, and it wasn't that bad. And don't listen to Todd McShay because, he was standing on the sideline and he wasn't prepared for it. It was not that bad.
It looked, my mom sent me a picture of her and my stepdad, huddled around a flaming garbage can like a couple of hobos with their fingerless gloves. I was waiting for them to start eating beans out of a can. They said it was damn cold that night.
Just dress for it and you'll be fine.
Just saw a tweet. We have football this weekend, Jared, which is awesome. We will now have football every weekend until February.
Yep.
Love it. Delaware State, who will travel 5,000 miles, 10.5-hour flight to take on Hawaii this Saturday. They just missed their plane at JFK, and they don't know how they're getting to Honolulu. I just saw on Twitter.
Well, at least it's Tuesday.
So much for getting acclimated. But we do have football.
How can you miss your plane when there's 100 people? Hold the plane for 100 people.
You would think. Yeah. I guess Delaware State doesn't get police escorts to the airport.
Well, I'm guessing that though. I guess they would have drove to.
It said JFK in the tweet anyway.
They probably would have drove there on a bus there, but still, hold the flight for crying out loud.
You would think Delaware State would go to Philly, Philadelphia, or Washington D.C. right there, but
or use the money you're making and maybe you should just charter.
Yeah, they might have to now, but. Football this week. I don't know if you've looked at the numbers yet on betting odds and all that kind of stuff, but Hawaii, there's 3 Mountain West teams in action. Hawaii and Delaware State, of course. If Delaware State makes it, New Mexico, the return of Bronco Mendenhall. They will be hosting Brent Vigen's Montana State Bobcats. And then Jeff Choate era gets underway in Reno. They will take on SMU, the Nevada Wolfpack. The latter two are large underdogs.
Well,
last I
let's
checked.
just pull these up, shall we? Let's see. Florida State, number 10, is over in Dublin. Playing Georgia Tech. And they're 11-point favorites, but people really like Georgia Tech right now. And they just got that big commitment from that number 1 rated lineman. So,
I haven't even paid attention to them.
And people say that quarterback's the real deal. I'll take Georgia Tech plus the 11.
Plus 11 is that one?
Yep.
That's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I believe, on Saturday, by the way.
It is, yes. So it'll be right after College Game Day, which I believe is in Dublin this weekend. So
Nice.
Montana State at New Mexico, like you said, FS1 game.
Nice.
So that's in the afternoon. Montana State favored by 11 at New Mexico. That is embarrassing.
Yeah, FCS team.
For the Mountain West. 11 points?
Yeah.
1.5 maybe. 11?
I don't know what to make of this New Mexico
You got to
team.
take New
don't
Mexico,
know.
I think.
Yeah, that's a big,
They're bigger.
It's a big
They're
spread.
faster. They're more physical. That's all there is to it.
you would think. I see Bronco Mendenhall's first couple of years in New Mexico going a lot like Craig Bull's first 2 years at Wyoming, but maybe worse. He's going to have to scrap that entire roster and turn it completely over. Bronco Mendenhall's a damn good coach who demands toughness, defensive-minded. He is going to do – I think he's going to be a really good hire for New Mexico, but these first 2 years are going to be brutal.
I still say take New Mexico.
That's a huge spread. And we know
On
what kind
the
of
road?
offense Vegan runs.
Wow. No comment.
Yeah.
SMU at Nevada. Mustangs. The new Sugar Daddy Mustangs.
ACC Mustangs.
And they got a couple guys that have put millions of dollars in there, say, we're going to buy ourselves a championship.
Where have I heard that before?
But SMU minus 27. And I'll take that all day long against Nevada because they are horrible.
Nevada has a ton of transfers right now that followed Jeff Choate from Texas, but it was a bunch of Texas guys who didn't play. Their top quarterback, Chubba Purdy, has not been named the starter because he's hurt. So essentially they're starting this season with a backup quarterback as well. So don't like Nevada's chances. And it's weird, 2 of the worst teams in the Mountain West, where I was having trouble picking who was going to be worse, New Mexico or Nevada, when it came to the preseason rankings. They're going to they're going to have the national spotlight on them this weekend. That might be the only time they're on national TV all year.
Yeah.
Do they have a line for that Hawaii game?
Yes. Just guess.
Hawaii +4 or -4.
Oh, you're going to have to add on to that a lot.
Really?
Times 9.
Really?
Almost times 10.
They're that big of a favorite over Delaware State?
39-point favorites.
Wow.
And the over-under is 57.5, so they're looking at that game to be a 49-10 game.
Hawaii does return a really nice quarterback, Braden Shager. He's one of the only returning quarterbacks in this conference, and it is on the island, and obviously they're going to have a 10.5-hour flight that they've missed. But like you said, it's only Tuesday.
Yep.
It is an FCS program. I fully believe Hawaii's going to win that game, but
40 is a lot.
that's
39
a lot.
is a lot, yeah.
That's a lot of points. And we haven't seen Hawaii do that.
No.
So I'm going to say no. Take the Hornets.
So those are the 4 games that involve FCS opponents. The other one, or FBS opponents, excuse me. The other ones I think there's 3 FCS against FCS games.
Okay.
So
I hadn't even looked at the full schedule. I just knew 3 Mountain West teams are getting after
there's
it.
a huge slate starting next Thursday, though, the 29th.
Yeah.
I mean, a big slate, and some of them are like in-conference games even.
Nice.
So
any Mountain West on Thursday?
I do not see. Oh, Sacramento State at San Jose State. It's the last one listed on Friday.
Okay.
Or on Thursday, excuse me. One that is of some interest, North Dakota State at Colorado. Go Bison.
Yeah. Go Tim Polasek. Go Bison. The other one that's going to be sneaky good, I think, is South Dakota State at Oklahoma State to start the season.
I could see that one being sneaky.
Yeah, I think that could be fun.
Let's see. There's probably not there might be a line on that one. And that's the Saturday,
Yep.
The first game.
Yep.
I'll have to go to the conference games here, so...
By the way, there's a story on the website right now, Around the Mountain. It's Time to Play Ball is what it's called, talking about these 3 Mountain West games. It also has some breakdowns in a press release from the Mountain West. They have the strongest non-conference schedule in the FBS. Mountain West teams have 35 non-conference games scheduled this season against autonomous 4 opponents, including Oregon State and Washington State. That's the most of any FBS league, with the next closest totaling 23. Mountain West has 4 games against the ACC, 8 against the Big 12, 6 against the Big 10, 2 against the SEC, in addition to 15 contests against Oregon State and Washington State, most of which are part of the scheduling agreement that will see all 12 Mountain West schools face either the Beavers or Cougars. 15 of the Mountain West games against autonomous 4 opponents this season will be played at home.
Well, doing what they've always said they were going to do is schedule better to put them in position to get that playoff game.
Yeah.
So,
and this isn't anything new.
No. But, it's adding in the Oregon State and Washington State in there to make sure that they have the 30. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a little skewed.
Yeah.
But
yes, that Oklahoma State is favored by 10. Granted, that's, a week and a half away. So.
And OSU is supposed to be good this year, but, South Dakota State's been...
Speaking of a hot game, that's 1 o'clock Oklahoma time.
Oof.
On a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's going to be brutal.
And if any Wyoming fans are looking ahead at the ASU game and going down there, have you looked at the forecast? Kickoff's like 1:09.
Spoke to Josh Barge yesterday. That's another story on the website. I don't know how many people know, but Josh Barge, a former Wyoming wide receiver who played, of course, in the early 2000s, always be remembered for hauling in that 69-yard touchdown pass from Javon Bonite against Ole Miss, as well as returning a kick for a touchdown in that game, punt, I believe. He was Evan Swoboda's OC at Red Mountain High School in Mesa, Arizona. So he told me yesterday on the phone, 85 straight days of triple digits in the Valley of the Sun. That streak will continue. Through when the Cowboys are there.
I was there for a game in September one time. They were playing UCLA on a Thursday night, and it was hot. And this is late September. It wasn't like the first part of September. It was in the 21st, 22nd, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a late night game, and there was so much. It was so hot in the stadium. The steam coming off the field looked like it was the fog bowl.
Oh,
like you couldn't really see across the field.
Dang.
That's how hot it was. It was like 110 at kickoff.
Wow. That's what it's going to be. I
still see my friend stumbling up the stairs at a bar after the game, knocking photos because he was so hammered. Yes, and if you're listening, you know who you are, Travis.
You got to drink beer, water.
Not just beer
all
at
day.
a game like that.
Speaking of Arizona State, they named their new starting quarterback yesterday, Sam Leavitt, transfer from Michigan State. Jay Johnson, Wyoming's offensive coordinator, actually landed Sam Leavitt at East Lansing last year. I asked him yesterday, was that one of those like fist pump moments when you got the kid? And he said, oh, absolutely. Number 7 ranked quarterback in the country out of Oregon. His dad and brother both played at BYU. He comes from a long line of athletes, so he won the competition, and over Jeff Sims, a Nebraska and Georgia Tech transfer. I watched the spring game. It's on YouTube. I encourage you to watch it. It shows the good, the bad, and the ugly from Arizona State's spring game. It didn't just show highlights. Sam Leavitt's got some wheels, and he can take off, and he's dangerous on the ground. Also, you got to keep in mind, he missed on a lot of long throws, but I'm seeing on Twitter from one of their beat writers as we speak, they must be having a scrimmage, and he's been nailing some long balls. But I would suggest you watch that. And keep in mind, Marcus Arroyo is Arizona State's offensive coordinator. He was Wyoming's offensive coordinator in 09 and 10 under Dave Christensen. He brought a guy named Austin Carter-Samuels with him. There's a lot of ACS I see in Sam Leavitt, except for Sam seems to be a more pure passer, but he can take off and run just like ACS. The offensive line should be, in the wide splits. They should be, splitting everybody out and really running a spread, and that's what Marcus Arroyo does. And I thought he was turning the corner at UNLV. Obviously, they made the right move, but don't get it twisted. Last year, UNLV wins a lot of games. Those are Marcus Arroyo's recruits. So,
and he'll let you know that.
Oh, he will. He will. We had a nice conversation at Media Days a couple years ago talking about that 2009 season. You remember, Wyoming was not supposed to be good. They started the year in Boulder. Robert Benjamin was the starter under center, and it was ugly. They had to bring in Austin Carter-Samuels, and things turned around quick.
Put up a goose egg.
Goose egg in Boulder. Yeah, it was really bad. But you might remember that year they beat San Diego State on the road, something that Wyoming doesn't do very often. They also beat CSU on the road to become bowl eligible. They went in, they beat Fresno State in double, triple overtime. That in the New Mexico Bowl. So
the infamous
goal line stand.
No, and Austin Carter.
The stiff arm.
Stiff arm. The CSU guy.
Yep. And Ian Watts kicked through the field goal to beat them in Fort Collins. Yeah. So I would say Sam Levitt to me reminds me a lot of Austin Carter-Samuels, and I bet you Marcus Arroyo would probably say something similar, except for I think this Levitt he's got a better arm, I would say. So, but I would definitely suggest watching that spring game. I appreciate that they're showing the good, bad, and the ugly. He had some wide open receivers and was just sailing balls left and right. But man, when he would tuck it under, he's quick. He's quick. So they know who they're facing, and Wyoming right now, they've been focusing on themselves, and that's what they've been doing this entire fall practice. Today, on Tuesday, is the last traditional fall camp practice for the Cowboys. They're off tomorrow. Thursday, all focus shifts to the Arizona State Sun Devils.
And as far as the bettors and the betting lines go, the Harrison Whaley injury hasn't moved the line one bit. It's still Arizona State -6.5.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about that. We haven't been on the air since. Harrison Whaley obviously went down, had surgery on his right knee, apparently feeling good. They expected the worst. From what I hear, Jay Sawvell, a doctor came over to Jay Sawvell at that scrimmage and whispered in his ear, and Jay kind of looked to the skies and was like, oh, great. And it didn't look good. He got pulled off like on the third play of the scrimmage. And, of course, it had to be that scrimmage, right before that, Jay's like, we haven't done this around here, but our ones are going to run 35 plays, and we're going to hammer down, and we're going to have a hard-ass scrimmage. And then, of course, your star running back gets hurt. But could have been worse. He got his knee scoped immediately, so that tells me the swelling wasn't tremendous. He was able to get under the knife real quick. Apparently, he came out of surgery pretty loopy and asked. He must have been watching Hard Knocks because he texted Jay Sawvell and said, "Can we have like a rookie? Can we have the rookies like sing at the end of camp?" The freshmen sing at the end of camp.
That used to happen.
Yeah. I think it should. I think it'd be great.
Back in the bunkhouse days, they used to have a program in the bunkhouse, and the main scholarship freshmen lived in the bunkhouse back in the day, and so they would do a performance.
I love that. I love that. And I love that he's so loopy that's what he's talking about after he gets out of knee surgery. So Lucas Amsula is lost in all this, young defensive tackle from Texas. He's lost for the year with a torn Achilles. We know those are tricky and brutal. Only Kenny Foster has been able to somehow come back from that injury in a matter of a few months.
That quick, yeah.
Yeah, but Lucas Amsula, I'm told by defensive coaches, he would have been in the rotation, and he's a really tough kid and a really good player, and that one's going to hurt. Also, DeWine McNeely, keeping an eye on his surgically repaired knee. He had an ACL in last fall camp. They're not rushing him back. I asked Sawvell, are you guys going to fast-track McNeely now? They're not. They are going to make sure he is 100%. And the good news is they had another scrimmage last Saturday. DJ Jones, the transfer from North Carolina, 50-yard run. Sam Scott, 50-yard run. And those were against the number one offenses. So
defense.
Or number one defenses. They're stacked at running back, and they're not going to rush Harrison back either, I can't imagine. I know it's his last year, and he's going to want to get back, and Sawvell's talked about what a freak of nature he is as far as getting healthy. We saw it last year. He missed the first 2 games of the season after getting reconstruction in the offseason, and then comes back and on his second carry takes it 70 yards against Texas and dusts their secondary.
Just be ready for Air Force.
Yeah, that could be it. And what's ironic is he didn't play last year against Air Force after getting twisted up against Fresno State, and that was obviously a key loss on the schedule last year. So he is on the mend here, and so is McNeely. But, I did see that Sawvell mentioned that Harrison Whaley wasn't a slam dunk starter. That's how good DJ Jones has been. And for those of you that don't know DJ and his story, I have stories on the website, but Cliff's Notes version of it is he came to North Carolina as a 3-star back. He was being recruited by the likes of Michigan, Clemson, teams like that. He decided to stay home and go to UNC. they had so many running backs that, Mac Brown and them asked him if he would move to safety. He did it without, running backs are prideful dudes. They think they're the guy. And he took what some would consider a demotion, went to the secondary, played safety. And when it came down to his last year of eligibility, Mac Brown and Craig Bowl are friends. Oscar Giles played for Mac Brown at Texas. That's where those relationships really come in. And Mac Brown said, hey, I got a kid. He's a really good running back. It was just a numbers game. He didn't make it because of the numbers game. They sent him right to Laramie, and Wyoming was looking at another player from UNC. They weren't even looking at DJ. They get him, and Jay Sawvell, it really says it all. He said every day he sees DJ, he says, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're here. Never more so than now.
And I said it last year, and I said it this year, that luckily this is the deepest room on the team.
Yep.
And it doesn't stop at Sam Scott. It goes down to
Jamari Farrell.
And then there's a couple freshmen that could be in the mix.
Yeah.
If they really need them to. Hopefully they can redshirt those guys if they don't need them on special teams. But still,
yep.
I mean, there's a lot of guys in that position that can do some damage.
They signed two. One was an actual scholarship guy, and one was a preferred walk-on this offseason. And I even wrote a story about it because I'm like, no running backs? That's how confident they are with the guys they have. Although, this running back room is going to look a hell of a lot different next year. DJ Jones will be gone. Harrison Whaley will be gone. DeWine McNeely might be gone. So it might be Sam Scott. And Jamari Farrell's gone, too. It might be the Sam Scott show next year. And they have a young kid out of Austin, Texas. And I would imagine the Cowboys will be hunting in the transfer portal for running backs at the end of this season.
Yeah, that's the beauty of today's age. I mean, you don't have to offer a freshman. Go find somebody that may not be happy because he's third string or second string, not getting enough carries.
And kind of like a middle linebacker at Wyoming, guys want to come play running back at Wyoming. They know they're going to get the ball, and that's not going to change under Jay Sawvell's regime. He also mentioned, kind of burying the lead here, maybe should have started with this, sounds like the All-22 is set for Jay Sawvell. We talked to him yesterday at a press conference in Laramie. There were only a handful of jobs even available, one being the weak side linebacker spot since Shea Suianoa is moving to the middle. Connor Shea apparently has the fast track to becoming the new weak side linebacker. He's a junior. He's paid his dues. He sat behind a lot of these guys, including Chad Muma, during the 2020 season. I think he's ready to roll. He was recruited out of high school by Utah. They gave him a scholarship offer, UNLV, San Diego State, teams like the Fresno State. So he's really waited his time and waited for his moment, and I think it's arrived. And he beat out a guy like Cole DeMarzo, newcomer Evan Eller. Evan mainly plays middle linebacker anyway, so he'll be the guy who spells Shea Suianoa. But it sounds like that's done. Who will be the second cornerback? That sounds like it's going to be Keone Parks, which every teammate I've talked to, every coach I've talked to, they said he is the best athlete on this team. He, of course, came to Wyoming last year as the number 2 ranked recruit in the state of Wisconsin as a running back, and they asked him to make the switch, a lot like DJ Jones. He took it with open arms, and now he is going to be a starting defensive back in Tempe, Arizona in 11 days. So really cool story there. Also mentioned yesterday, Caleb Merritt, a kid who came here as a 3-star wide receiver out of the St. Louis area. He has now made the move to corner as well. He will likely be the third corner as they wait for Ian Bell, a kid who actually got some snaps last year, as they wait for him to come back from injury.
And most likely, they're all going to get playing time at ASU.
Yeah.
Because people are going to need spells down there to make sure they're staying hydrated and so forth. And really, it's not staying hydrated during the game. It's being hydrated 48 hours leading into the game.
This might be a dumb question, Jared, and I just don't know anything about this stuff. Do you cramp more in humidity or do you cramp more in just hotter than hell dry heat? Do you know?
It's just how your body reacts to it. I mean, it's just what you're exporting out of your body, compared to. So it's all about how much you're sweating and so forth. Yeah,
So
humidity is going to make you
humidity.
sweat more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 109 is 109 or whatever it's going to be. Yep. And it's going to be hotter than that in the stadium because the sun will luckily have just been going down behind the press box, but still.
Yep.
It's going to be hot as hell.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and I know they really had a cramping problem at Illinois a couple years ago, and it reared its ugly head a few times, and some guys who weren't even expected to play had to come into that game.
But it's really the 48 hours, and I'm sure some of those guys are already drinking, out of milk jugs as it is.
Yeah.
But the 48 hours in advance, you got to stay hydrated, and the plane ride, it dehydrates you.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to be serving, Gatorades waters,
juice, stuff like that.
all that kind of stuff on the flight to make sure they're staying. And so every player should have to go to the bathroom on an 1.5-hour flight to Scottsdale or to Phoenix.
Luckily for them, their quarterback is from the area and already talked to him about it, and he said there's no secret here. Hydrate, hydrate. So the other big one, and one we'll definitely be keeping an eye on, is at the left tackle spot. Coach Savell said if we had a game tomorrow, Nate Geiger is going to be the starting left tackle. He did not play a snap last year. He's 6'5", 295-pound redshirt freshman out of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Him and Jake Davies have been, head-to-head all off-season, and it sounds like Nate Geiger took the lead here of late and has been the most consistent. So they're going to have somebody protecting Evan Svoboda's blind side who has never played in a college football game.
And once again, you're going to see probably 6 or 7 O-linemen throughout that game, regardless.
Yeah.
But that right now it's the most important spot on the field. But that's when you keep a tight end in. Yep. Maybe J. Mike's going to go out on routes, and then you keep a guy in to block.
Caleb Driscoll.
And Caleb Driscoll to chip and stuff like that too. So
they can help them. The scary part, I guess, is Keone Parks. You're on an island. They can help with Wyatt Eckler and Isaac White, but you don't want to get your safeties out of position either. So, and he's a freak athlete. Apparently, all we hear from the coaches is how playing corner is technically the hardest position.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you are on an island.
You're exposed.
And you have to put a bad play behind you.
Yep.
And you can't get too overly confident after a good play. Just say, got to go do it again.
And I think, not to throw a kid under the bus, but we saw what you shouldn't do last year over and over and over again with Colby Taylor. You just cannot be that emotional, and you cannot – he was letting plays stick with him entire games. I want to say, 3 personal foul calls against New Mexico?
Yeah, he just
brutal
the entire time, too.
And Ricky White told me at Mountain West Media Days, he said, do you guys still have that number 6? I said, he's at Vanderbilt now. And he said, man, that dude talked and talked and talked all game. He said, I caught a 50-yard pass over him like the 3rd play of the game. And he's still talking. So that is not Keone Parks. That's not his game.
And that just goes to show you that great athletes, no matter what side of the ball you're on, going up against them, they don't respect people that just talk.
No.
I mean, knock a couple down, then the guy go, oh, all right.
Yeah. Then your play's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else that's going to help Nate Geiger, Jared, in a lot of ways is this is a veteran offensive line. He's right next to Wes King, who's right next to Fia, who's next to Jack Walsh, who's next to Caden Barnett. And those guys hold each other accountable every day in practice, every day in film study. And if Nate's screwing up or Jake's screwing up, they're going to hear about it. We've heard already Jack Walsh is unofficially nicknamed the Prick because he is going to make damn sure that guys are doing their job.
Love it.
So, and that's been a Wyoming tradition on that offensive line.
Has there been any talk that if maybe Geiger isn't holding his own and Davies isn't the answer either, would Barnett move over to the left side and then they put one of those guys at the right side? Or
we talked about it in the spring, and obviously Barnett was hurt during the spring, but all options were on the table at the time. Now I think they like Caden Barnett on the right side. There must be reason for that.
It's got to be something to do with the running game for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So they love him over there, and they're confident. They're confident with putting a kid on Evan's blind side.
And I guess we'd have to watch a lot more film to see where Gillenborg actually runs out of, mostly as it the right or the left side, or is he in motion? Then he goes out for his routes to see where they're most successful with. So that might have something to do with formations as well and keeping him on that side.
Well, after watching, rewatched the entire Texas game the other day, and that's also awesome on YouTube. They play every snap, every play of that game. A lot of quick throws.
But it's done in like an hour.
Yes. It was about 30 minutes. Yeah. If their pass rush is coming, that's exactly what they did against Texas. The offensive line did a great job, but, man, the ball was out of Evan's hands so quick. And after rewatching that, man, you're like, go downfield.
And he doesn't have time to think either.
Yeah, exactly.
Which the one time that he did think was pick 6.
Well, and after rewatching that, they didn't test the middle of the field one time during that game. So he was going out. They finally sat on one.
Yes, we hold on to things you and I do, and a lot of other fans too, but a pump fake right there.
Yep.
He bites, receiver goes.
Yep.
It's probably a touchdown.
They didn't go downfield at all. Not at all in that game.
And at least, I mean, the worst case, it's an interception 40 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Not a pick six.
Yeah, it's a punt.
Or it's an incompletion.
Yeah. No, that was the, in hindsight thing, watching that is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you couldn't ask for more from that kid. Let it go. They had nothing to lose in that game.
No.
But they do have something to lose in this game, in my opinion, at Arizona State. You know, we've talked about it every week for months now. You should win this game. You really should. I mean, I know it's a Power 5 team, and it's
but
at their home.
Dead last in a 16-team league.
Exactly. It's
they
hot.
Are not good.
You look at their roster, Jared. It's just mind-boggling. Everybody is a transfer. They even have like 3 transfers from the University of Arizona. It's so bizarre to look at that and just go, how do your fans? It's kind of like being a Wyoming basketball fan. How do your fans get into this? Who are these guys? Ton of guys from Colorado, ton of guys like that played at CU under Dion. And Dion, of course, always is very open about talking about getting rid of his trash. And a lot of that quote-unquote trash, which they're not trash, but they landed in Tempe, Arizona.
He's bringing his own Louis?
Yeah, they're not Louis. They're JanSport.
Which I think this is probably Dion's last go-around anyway.
Yeah, I have a feeling Wyoming will not be facing Dion next year, which is fine with me. So the big question, too, a lot of people question, haven't heard a lot about Evan Svoboda. There's a Q&A right now on the website with offensive coordinator Jay Johnson. We spoke yesterday. I haven't put a lot of these stories on social yet, kind of letting some stories breathe, but inconsistency is the word that comes up, and that's accurate. And speaking of accurate, that's something that Evan hasn't always been. He's had a really good practice, then maybe a dud. He's been picked off. Heard he got picked off by Shea Suinoa twice the other day. He got picked off by Rook Brown. I saw him in the first practice get picked off by Keone Parks. Damn near picked off by Parks again on the next play. You got to think he's never been in this spot.
And I brought it up, I think, 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the defense knows a lot of what the offense is going to do.
Yes.
They definitely know Evan's tendencies
and
right
the defense
now.
is damn good.
And they are good.
Yeah.
And they still have to make the play, of course, but they know what's going on out there. So to cheat a little bit, to get into a window to pick a pass off, great. They did it, but it's not the opponent that you're going to be playing in a week and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know the plays.
The other thing before people jump off a building here, and Jay talks about it in our Q&A, they've been installing a ton of stuff, like the playbook. Once they start focusing on ASU on Thursday, that's going to get shrunk so small.
Because they're going to go to the ASU tapes. They're going to go to the spring game and just see what is going on what they are tendency-wise and what their defensive coordinator does and vice versa.
Exactly.
On the other side of the ball. So that's how you game plan. It's not just based off what you have. You also have to think about what the other team what their weaknesses are.
No doubt. And I asked Jay, like they said early in the year, we are going to pinpoint our top 10 playmakers, and they are going to be on the field. But he said that's not always going to be the case because somebody might be a better matchup for Arizona State compared to Idaho, which may be J-Mike and, maybe Sam Scott. So I think it's really something that, even I'm guilty of not thinking about sometimes. They are being just force-fed with a fire hose. The entire Jay Johnson and brand new coordinator, his entire playbook. Not to mention they're not huddling up anymore. They have guys on the sideline calling in plays. They now have a green dot, and Evan can listen in his helmet. This is a whole new offense. This is something we haven't seen in Laramie. So we've seen it. I think you can compare it a little bit to Dave Christensen. It's not a full-on spread because they're going to focus on running the ball, but they have spread elements, and it's just something we haven't seen. It's not 21 personnel 24/7 like it was before.
And you got to think, too, some of these plays, they're not like a whole phrase.
Yeah.
As you hear,
yeah.
He's going to say 17. He's going to look at his wristband and read it out, but he still has like maybe 5 seconds before they shut off the communication to maybe calm Evan down a little bit or to pump him up or say, Evan, tell Caden to do a better job or whoever, Nate.
Yeah. Or, hey, the safety's coming down. The safety's in the box. Yeah, and speaking of that, I talked to Aaron Bohl, of course, the new defensive coordinator. He is going to be calling the defense from the box. Do you like that?
I think I do because that's where he's been.
Yeah.
He's been up there.
Yeah.
So that's where his view, that's where he is used to viewing the game from and seeing things, and it's obviously worked. He's got Jay on the sideline if he needs to. Jay needs to go talk to the team on the bench.
Bingo.
Or grab a guy by the face mask and say, what are you doing?
Yep.
That's fine. And he's got some other new guys down there. And I don't know, I guess, who's going to be up in the box with him per se, but you got veteran, Jason Petrino.
Yeah.
If he's down there or if he's up there, one way or the other, then you have all these other folks too. I mean, you got plenty of people.
I usually hate it because the interpersonal, I would feel more comfortable being face-to-face with a guy. However, Aaron, you nailed it. Jay Sawvell is a defensive coach. He's on the sideline. Also, Aaron can talk to Shea Suianoa through his helmet as well.
Yes, and you have communication on the field. You have communication off the field when the defense is, when the offense is on the field, defense is getting a blow. You can talk to them that way via the phone. And now the Surface tablets.
Yep.
They can look at all that kind of stuff. So they're going to be communicating in so many different ways that I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And halftime.
Yeah. Well, and you got to trust your leaders, which is Shea Suianoa and Jordan Bertinoli. You got to trust that those guys, every coach I've talked to, Tom Izzo was a main dude who would say, man, if I'm coaching you and we're in January, we're not a very good team.
And I know you brought up that there's new rules and stuff like that. Obviously, the communication in the helmets is one of them. Do we have clarification? The communication starts when the play clock starts, and then it's shut off at 15?
15, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So even if they're mid-sentence, it's shut off. I mean, they have no control over that. They cannot say, hey, I didn't finish my commute. No, it's 15 seconds.
And that's why they're not going to huddle.
And it's the same thing in the NFL, too. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And guess why we're on the rules thing? Another one is there's a 2-minute warning now at the end of the second quarter and the end of the fourth quarter, just like the NFL. Which
I love it.
I don't know if I do.
It's another timeout.
The only reason it's okay now because the clock. A couple years ago, they had the rule where the clock keeps running. After a first down, stuff like that. So they'll reset the clock. I guess it doesn't. But
I think I'd be all for them damn near following the NFL script all the way around, including 2 feet in, stuff like that.
Even the new kickoff rule?
I don't know. I mean, the kickoff has been not very exciting for a long time.
This might make it more exciting, to be honest with you. I was like dead set against it at first. I'm looking at where they have it on TV, where they always put where it is. I'm like, it's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
But then you think about it, like, Sear Sante is a great example.
Yeah.
He gets a nice return the other day.
Yeah, 29
guys
yards.
like that are electrifying have a chance to make teams because of that.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're that close to the returner to create to vacuum in and get them. And next thing you know, they could beat one guy and be around the edge. And they're just doing it to avoid the big collision. So I don't know. I'd be all for it. I'd even be for, if you're not touched when you're on the ground, get up and go.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that, too.
If you're going to do that, get the 2 feet in.
Yeah.
And then, if you're not down,
why
touched,
not?
Go ahead and get up.
Why not? Speaking of Irasanti, 18 guys currently, haven't checked today, but 18 guys currently, Wyoming alums in the NFL. It's got to be the most ever.
I would think so. Obviously, they're not all going to make active rosters, and they're not all practice squads, but there's a good chance that it's going to be in the lower teens that are on, both of those.
Yeah. No, it's impressive, man. And also, Bruce Feldman put out his freaks list, last week, I want to say. I don't know if we've been on the air since, but folks, it hasn't been the recruiting. That's never been the problem. I think we all know what the elephant in the room is with this program, and it's the offense. That's all there is to it. Essentially, 6 Craig Bowl recruits made the freaks list, including Emmanuel Pregnon at USC, Colby Taylor at Vanderbilt, Wyatt Eckler in Laramie. Now, I can't remember who else made it.
Didn't Alex Brown?
Alex Brown, Eckler, and then also honorable mentions, basically, which if they had played a lot already would be on this list. Evan Swoboda, John Michael Gillenborg. So 6 dudes. Boise State has 1. Ashton Genty. The rest of the Mountain West schools, none. Craig Bowl recruited 6 of those dudes, and he has 18 guys. I know he didn't recruit Purcell and Tashawn Gibson. So he's got 16 guys right now in the NFL. And that's not even including like Brian Hill, Jalen Jacob Hollister he's back with the Panthers, which is cool to see.
And some dudes that you would think that should still be in the league that just aren't.
Yeah, and then Andrew Peasley, what a cool story he's been so far. But
he's going to make that practice squad.
Boy, I hope so. That'd be so. Knowing his personality, once he gets in and he plays well, he's fine. He's good.
But how could you not have that guy on the field in the practice squad running the other team's offense?
Oh, I know.
Because he's doing voodoo stuff out there again against NFL guys.
Yeah.
Now he's going to get lit up and he's going to be like, you got to get down.
Yeah.
Or he's going to take an injury. It's like, okay, I'm done.
No doubt. Just a quick run through here. Tyler Hall, cornerback, now with the Philadelphia Eagles after spending some time with the Raiders. He is on injured reserve. He'll probably get cut. He probably will. Hopefully, whatever his injury is, he can get past that and get picked up again by somebody else. We talked about Peasley, quarterback of the New York Jets. He threw for 73 yards and a touchdown in his first outing with the Jets. Not as good this last week, 7 of 11 for 33 yards. He also carried the ball 4 times for 25 yards. He did have a 10-yard scamper on a 3rd and 9 in the second quarter. It's been a rough go for his teammate in New York, Xavier Valladay, who, of course, finished his career at Arizona State. He only rushed for 11 yards on 8 carries in the first game. He amassed 6 yards on 3 carries in the last game against the Panthers.
But in that first game, I think a lot of those carries were when the game was it was
playing with the scrubs, too.
And it was just like handing it up the middle just to run clock.
Yeah. No, a lot of people aren't a fan of this, but Solomon Byrd did go to Wyoming for 4 years. He graduated. He spent his last 2 years at USC. He had a strip sack in the Texans game. He was a 7th-round draft pick by the Houston Texans. He had a strip sack the other day. So
if you haven't seen it, look up the article, and there's a Twitter.
Yeah,
and you can see the play. I mean, that was a nice move.
Good play,
very nice move underneath.
You already talked about Ayer Asante, wide receiver for the Giants. He had a 29-yard kick return. He also caught a pass in the first game for the Giants. Carl Granderson, all he does is sack quarterbacks. He registered half a sack and 2 tackles for the Saints.
His next deal is going to be large.
Yeah, he already got a real nice one.
But he's going to get another one.
Yeah. Mike Purcell has surfaced in New England. 2 tackles for him on Thursday night. Good to see him. He played the previous 5 seasons, of course, with Denver. He is the second longest tenured Cowboy in the NFL. Marcus Epps with the Raiders. There's another video on here of him making a really good play on a running back for the Dallas Cowboys last week for the Raiders. Tashawn Gibson, he is out with serving a 6-game suspension for testing positive and violating the league's performance-enhancing substance policy. He did get re-signed, however, by the Jacksonville Jaguars, a place he has already spent time at.
3 Cowboys on the Jags.
Yep. Yeah, and speaking of Chad Muma, there's a video of Chad. He looked really good for the Jags this week.
He had back-to-back plays that were really nice.
Absolutely. He tallied a team-high 4 tackles. 3 of those were solo stops. He hasn't played a lot. This is going into year 3. He might and
their announcers
might be his time.
Flat out said, Chad has got to make a move.
Yeah, it's time.
This is his year to make a move.
No doubt.
And then Wingard.
Yeah, and Wingard, he's hurt right now. He might not play. He might miss the first few regular season games, but of course he's still a safety and a captain, a special teams demon for the Jaguars. Frank Crum, right tackle, Denver Broncos. I did not get to watch that game. All I saw on Twitter was the sky is falling. Apparently Frank whiffed on a blitz, and Jared Stidham got murdered. That's going to happen. And it might not even be that. I didn't see it, of course. I don't know if you did, Jared.
I did not.
Maybe the call for the offensive line was messed up or something, and he just let a guy go free. You never know.
And sometimes you just might go to your tendencies to launch at something and you whiff.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't do that. You're getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, he's a rookie.
But he's shown his athleticism and how he can get out in front. You can follow him.
And if he doesn't make the active, he's going to make the practice squad for sure. You would think.
Yeah, you would
just
think.
because they invested in him already.
No doubt. Trayton Welch, cool moment for him, former Wyoming tight end. He's with the Cleveland Browns. He caught his first NFL pass the other day against the Minnesota Vikings. That had to be really cool for him. That was a 22-yard pass on a 4th and 2 early in the third quarter. He also added another catch. Logan Wilson, linebacker, Cincinnati Bengals. Don't expect to see a lot of him during the preseason. We know what he can do. The Bengals staff knows what he can do. 135 tackles last year for the Casper product. Jacob Hollister, really cool story. He snagged 2 passes against in his Panthers debut last week. Didn't catch one this week, but the fact that he has resurfaced again, he will not go away, and it's a really cool story that he will not go away.
Yeah, I kind of hadn't forgotten about him, but forgotten about him having a chance to playing again.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It was really cool to see. I said, does that say Hollister? We actually watched that game. Josh Allen, don't expect to see a lot of him either this offseason. He didn't play in Pittsburgh the other night. It was raining. There was no way in hell they were putting him in harm's way there. Azizi Hearn, cornerback, New England Patriots. He spent the year with the Raiders last year. Another guy who people might go, Azizi Hearn. He finished his career at UCLA. He did graduate from Wyoming, however. Did spend 4 years.
It's called student athlete, folks.
Yep, 4 years here. He's a graduate of the University of Wyoming. He registered one tackle Thursday night in the Patriots' 14-13 home loss to the Eagles. He played at Wyoming from 2019 to 21. So good crop. Unfortunately, expect this list to shrink soon. They're going to be narrowing down their 53-man roster soon, hoping for some surprises. I think it'd be awesome to see, like you said, Andrew Peasley landing on a practice squad would be fantastic. Backup would be unbelievable. Third string would be unbelievable. Any of that would be great. I think the same with Trayton Welch. I don't think that dude scratched the surface of his potential at Wyoming.
No.
If he played in the offense we're going to see this year, it probably would have been a whole different story. He might have got drafted. He's fast. He's got great hands. I think he's obviously a really good blocker. He did plenty of that in his 6 years here, or 5 years, whatever it ended up being. So cool to see that many Cowboys. We've talked about it a lot when I was a kid. Certainly when you were a kid. It was a miracle of God to see a Wyoming Cowboy football player on a NFL Sunday on TV.
He scrambled to even, and
forever it was Malcolm Floyd.
Yeah.
And no one else. So it's really cool.
And it's obviously the majority of them are all defensive players except for a couple of tight ends. So.
Yeah, and Josh.
Yep.
Yeah. Now when you go to TV, man, it's like, what Cowboys playing for which one of these teams? So, and usually it's one on each side. Little bit, another tidbit from the scrimmage on Saturday. Apparently, TK King making some really nice plays, the speedy wide receiver from Texas Tech. Jalen Bean caught a couple of long balls from Evan Swoboda in that one too, so that's good news because the long ball has not been in the repertoire for a long, long time since another guy who wore 17 was back there. So also wrote a column this last week. It was a little column, kind of short, sweet, and to the point on Mountain West Media, or on Wyoming's Media Day, excuse me. Craig Bull was in town. He wasn't at Media Day, but he had dinner with Jay Sawvell, and he said, we are a development program, but for the first time in a long time, this is a developed team. In other words, they have the right guys at the right spots. Yes, there's going to be a newbie at corner. Yes, there's a newbie at left tackle. Other than that, though, every team in the country has a newbie somewhere, if not a lot of different places. Arizona State's going to be loaded with newbies at all kinds of different positions. Wyoming finally has – you and I have talked about it. Oh, could you imagine in 2016 if Wyoming's defense was worth a shit? Oh, can you imagine in 2017 if Wyoming's offense was worth a shit? I think 1996 was probably the last time both were put together. However, if you look at that even, and no offense to those guys, they gave up, 40-something to Idaho at home in the opener. They gave up some points in some games, but they also locked it down in some games.
Yeah.
But they've never seemed to have it all at once. And to have that in the transfer portal era right now is very impressive.
And time will tell if this is the year that comes together.
No doubt. Little news that I know in the Mountain West found interesting. I'm not as shocked by it. Maddox Madsen has been named the starting quarterback for the Boise State Broncos over the former number 1 overall recruit in the country, Malachi Nelson.
It's not surprising at all because those guys come in with such a big head, especially if they transfer from a team like USC and goes to a Boise. Oh, I got this locked up.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that his teammates haven't bought into him as much as he hasn't probably bought into them.
It's weird because Maddox was not involved in spring ball, did not play in the spring game. It was Malachi's chance.
Got that screenshot sent to me, and I was like, he looks like the new lead singer of a boy band.
His bleach blonde hair. He played well against Wyoming last year, but I'd say the other kid played better against Wyoming.
Yeah.
The new starting quarterback at Arkansas, whatever the hell his name is. Vince Young Jr. Talon Green.
Yeah, there you go.
Vince Young Jr., I'm glad to see him gone. He was a nightmare.
Beast.
I'll never forget that night that Clemens threw the 3 picks and they lost in Laramie. They had him dead to rights 9 times in the backfield and never brought him down once for a sack or a tackle for loss. That guy was a problem. So have fun in Fayetteville, sir. Your services are no longer required here. Go to 7220sports.com. 21 new stories since our last podcast, and there's plenty more to come. Been burning it hard. Really excited for the season. I got some cool stuff coming up, some really cool interviews I'm looking forward to in the next week. Be back to game week next week, so this will be our last podcast. We're going to have 7220 Sports kickoff shows every week from now on. You can also find those on the website. You can also listen to them on the app.
Yep, and KOWB before the games, and we'll be going on 2.5 hours before kickoff.
Yep.
And even when there's so-called bye weeks, we'll have those on. Those will be at 10 a.m.
Yeah, excellent. Yep, that'll be fun. Also, on a personal note, I'm looking forward to the Phillies and Braves starting a 3-game series tonight in Atlanta, which is rather gigantic.
You have your Phillies hat on. I have my Astros shirt on.
I haven't forgotten about your baseball. I'm really excited. I am so excited to watch Nevada and SMU and New Mexico and Montana State, but I haven't forgot about your baseball. We need some wins this week. Put the Braves in the rear view for good.
And the FedEx Cup's going on right now, the second.
Is that golf?
Yeah. Oh, geez. Is that golf? This week's at Castle Pines down in Castle Rock.
Is that in Colorado?
It is.
I've been to that.
South of Highlands Ranch.
Yeah. I played baseball there when I was a kid. But you know what? I'll be in Denver this week, too. Marilyn Manson, Thursday night, Ball Arena. He hasn't been on tour in a long time. I'm pumped. Pumped to see him. And Slaughter to Prevail, a mean-ass Russian band's opening, too, so I'm really excited for that.
You kill me.
You don't like Marilyn Manson?
No.
It's not. He doesn't play much Red Dirt.
No, but I have heard that he puts on a hell of a show.
He does.
I know some guys that have gone. They said they enjoy it. So.
Yep. I'm pumped to see him. Five Finger Death Punch is technically the headliner, but and of course, what's his name? Ian Moody. He owns a gas station here in Cheyenne, and this is his second home, I guess. He's from Denver originally, so I would assume he lives here to dodge taxes in Colorado. But
well, he opened up something else. I want to say it's a substance abuse.
It is. Yep.
Place here, and along with the gas station. Yep.
Yeah, he's doing really good stuff in Cheyenne, so really cool to see that. He played at Frontier Days a couple years ago. I'm not a huge Five Finger Death Punch guy, but they are pretty good, and they're good in concerts. So I'm going to see Marilyn Manson and Slaughter to Prevail. So excited for Five Finger Death Punch to.
And what night is that?
Thursday.
I can't wait to text you on Friday morning.
I'm not drinking. I'm on my best behavior. I have gout. I've had a gout for a month and a half. I'm like a 60-year-old man. It's gross.
Folks, don't feel bad for him when you see him in Tempe, limping around.
Fans have seen me limping around plenty of games. And, of course, I hear there's a hell of a climb in Tempe to get to the press box, too. So,
yeah, you have to walk up a hill to get – it's kind of like Air Force.
Great.
You have to walk up a hill to get to the elevator.
Well, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. I'm hoping they can give me a nice shot like they do with the pros. Give me a shot. I'll be ready to go.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. 11 days, Jared.
And, just a couple mop-up duty here. Soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we know it was an exhibition game, but they did beat the number 3 ranked BYU Cougarettes.
On the road in front of a full house.
Yeah, and it was ESPN Plus, I believe, was broadcasting it.
Yep.
And, good for them. I mean, even though it was an exhibition game, it's got to give you a lot of confidence. And then they went on to tie Washington, a Big Ten team, which is so weird to say.
Yep.
So, and they were picked way at the bottom, if not last.
Yep, new coach.
Yep. So good for them. And volleyball starts, this week with another exhibition game, I believe. And
they're picked 6th in the Mountain West early on. I know Kaylee Prigge got off to a really nice start last year. I believe it was a 10-0.
Yeah, I was going to say undefeated in the non-conference or something.
Yeah. So she did say at Media Days last week they are challenging themselves. Last year they built that schedule for what they had. Now it's going to be a little bit more of a road grind and go do it. I know Utah is coming to Laramie too, so that'll be a good one. But, they're getting going. Cross country's getting going. Just got a message here.
What's it say?
Wyoming soccer heading to Colorado on Thursday, and they're going to host South Dakota State in the home opener. So it's getting busy. It's getting fun, but 11 days we're going to be in Tempe, Arizona. Can't believe it's already here. It feels like it's been forever, but really excited. This will be my 6th season covering the Wyoming Cowboys. Really pumped about that. I was talking to Devon Harris yesterday. Him and I have been around since we've been there as long as each other. That's pretty wild. Alex Brown, him.
Yeah.
They've been around that long.
Do you think Devon will be wearing pajamas on the plane?
Guaranteed.
Even when it's 109?
Yes. I saw. Yes. That's just the kind of cat he is. Yeah, man, it's wild. He's already, by the time he's done, he's going to make it through 3 presidents. He's worked at every fast food joint in Laramie.
Well, hopefully his goggles don't steam up on the field down there.
That's true. I wonder if he's even thought of that. I didn't. I
Maybe
should have asked him
he's got some
about
that
it.
you can just switch out.
Just go blind. Just fly blind, man. Just kill the quarterback. So go check out those videos on YouTube if you want to see Sam Leavitt and Arizona State's offense, kind of what they're looking like. Wyoming's coaching staff's talked about it, man. They don't really know. I mean, now Sam Leavitt, that's one shoe to drop where they're like, okay, now we know who the quarterback is, but they do have a bunch of really talented running backs. Big white dude who's a bowling ball. You'll see in that spring game footage, he's really good. He was good last year. But they were so depleted last year. Arizona State was using a tight end and a running back as quarterbacks. They were doing swinging gate stuff on offense. They were a mess. But their defense was solid. They held Washington, a playoff team, to only a single touchdown. So they have some pieces, but, man, who the hell knows? They have so many transfers that, I mean, I've heard that from the coaches at Wyoming. They're like, we don't really know who their personnel is.
The transfer portal does make it hard for these first games because you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, this is a totally different team than you saw last year with Arizona State. Simmons, their safety, is really good. Spoke to Jay Johnson about him yesterday, and he said, you know what? We seriously haven't even focused on them yet. So that changes Thursday. Cowboys are going to be focused in on the Sun Devils. Excited for that one. Stay tuned to 7220sports.com. We're going to have a ton of content. There's already a ton of content up there.
I'm looking at your wallet again, and I think I made a comment last week. This is the best George Costanza wallet for you Seinfeld fans out there. I think I'm going to take a picture of this and post it. So check out my Twitter account because I'm going to take a picture of this because it is funny as hell.
Will you post a GoFundMe under it too? Because I don't have any dollars. I think a moth just came
It's
out
all
of this.
plastic these days.
Yeah, the plastics don't work either for me. I think a moth just came out and died on the table.
Well, you
probably
turn in
that.
some of those receipts and you might get reimbursed.
That's true. I have to get on that. All right, Jared. Remember, folks, last podcast, we'll be doing 7220 Sports kickoff show from now on. You can find that right on the website. So we will start that next week. It's officially game week.
Talk to you next week.